Hello, folks. It's me again, Amanda Enderman, your trusty tour guide in the wonders of the wonderful city, also known as Rio de Janeiro. And on this video, we are going to talk about not a dark period in history at all, quite the opposite, in fact. We are going to talk about something that we all know and love, which is making money. As Uncle Scrooge will say, my own mountain of money. Am I right? So, and which we all know and love. And as you probably guessed you probably guessed that by reading the title of the video, which is of course making a buck in Rio. But before I get to the theme, first of all, I'm sorry for taking so long to make a new video, and thank you so much for not just leaving the channel, just unsubscribing. That means a lot to me, that you guys trusted me enough. And I'm sorry, the reason why I took so long is because I was testing the heck out of this of Zoom for this new format that I'm bringing you today, and which means that I'll be saying bye-bye to my trusty tablet. So stay tuned for that. And of course, well, I have tons of other news for you. For starters, you can see my Christmas decorations over here, and yes, Christmas has already gone by at this time, but Christmas has already gone by, but I still wanted to shoot the video while my Christmas decorations are still up. And well, I normally take them down on January 1st, so they're still up here. And also, well, new haircut. What do you think? And also this lipstick is new, just got it. I'm none other than MAC Cosmetics. But without further ado, let's move on to the actual video, because this is not a beauty channel, this is not a lifestyle channel, this is a channel about tourism and history. So let's hop on. Oh, and not forgetting to thank our lucky stars, because seriously, if you're watching this video, whatever time you're watching it at, if it's still 2020 or if it's already 2021, it means you have survived the year of 2020. Am I right? We all have. So those of us who are watching, at least. So thank our lucky stars. Am I right? So let's hop on to the theme of the video, shall we? So in this video, we are of course going to be still talking about colonial Rio. And the reason why I'm spending such a long time talking about colonial Rio is because, well, Brazil is 500 years old, and 322, or 300 to be exact, of those years were spent with Brazil being a colony. So as you can probably tell, it is still the majority of Brazilian history. One day that will change, yes. The longer we remain a republic, the longer of Republican history we will have. But for now, still colonial times are the biggest chunk. So this is why still we are in colonial Rio. So the very first product to be the very first export, better yet, to be exported from Brazil was none other than Brazilwood. In fact, Brazilwood is responsible for the very name of Brazil. Yes, you probably wondered, why is Brazil called Brazil? Well, precisely because of Brazilwood, which was our very first export during colonial times. All right, but and we are going to get to that later, but actually it was kind of a consolation prize for even though it was valuable, it was kind of a consolation prize for the Portuguese explorers, because of course when they came to Brazil in the first place, when they discovered Brazil, they saw that the Spaniards in their colonies had just like that discovered silver and gold and all kinds of precious metals, Whereas in the Portuguese domains, according to the Treaty of Tordesillas, there wasn't much of those to find, to benefit from. So they were like, yeah, okay, there is something, there is Brazilwood, but nonetheless, even though it's of course less valuable than gold or silver, Brazilwood was very valuable at the time. And why? And you may be thinking, but Amanda, it's just wood. Didn't they have wood in Portugal? Was there like a shortage of wood so they couldn't build houses or anything like that? Certainly not. At least not at that time. At least not at that time. But the thing is that Brazilwood has a red ink that comes from inside of the tree, and this was what they wanted, the red ink. So without further ado, let me share my screen with you so that you can see it firsthand. So let me come here. There you go. There you go. So this is, without further ado, I decided to start this screen sharing with the flower of the Brazilwood tree. Isn't it beautiful, folks? Wonderful way to start with something beautiful, am I right? And the scientific name of pau-brasil, you can see right here, is Cisalpinia echinata, or nowadays it has been changed to pau-brasilia echinata. Okay, and remember the red ink that I was talking about? So this is it. This is a sample of Brazilwood, and this bright red, or blood red, I should say, that you can see over here is none other than the ink coming from it. Okay, and this red ink was where it was at, because you see, back in the Middle Ages and also in the 1500s, and even as far as the 1600s, red was a very hard color to find and to manufacture in Europe, but very hard, so hard that only kings and queens would wear it. This and purple as well. It was very hard to make and to find material. So when the first explorers came to Brazil, and to Rio, of course, and they saw that the indigenous, they would paint themselves red, they would wear red clothing, and not only the chiefs of the tribes, everyone basically would do that. So they asked the indigenous, well, where do you find so much red ink? And the indigenous, well, they simply pointed at the trees, and so trade was established. And it's a very common misconception, there's this ludicrous idea that, oh my goodness, the indigenous were swindled by the Portuguese because they were fooled into giving away pau-brasil or Brazilwood, and poor things, they ran out of Brazilwood. But no. Oh, and in exchange, the Portuguese gave them trinkets such as mirrors and metal axes. But no, the mirrors not so much, but especially the metal axes, they were of great value to the indigenous, because you see, what the indigenous wanted to do was build their houses, and so they needed to chop the trees for that, and they only had wooden axes. And imagine a tree as thick as this, to hack at it with a wooden axe, it took hours. Okay, however, with a metal axe, it's much easier, it's much faster. So they wanted that, and well, the Portuguese wanted the tree itself because of the red ink. So led us straight. And they weren't very particular, and of course the indigenous weren't very particular about building their houses with Brazilwood, or building their huts with Brazilwood. Any tree is a tree, right? So, and in fact, it is around this time that the term wood of the law, roughly translated, comes into play. In fact, this term is still used to this day but today it designates wood which is very expensive, so it is very priced, such as pau-brasil, or sorry, Brazil, I'm saying the name in Portuguese. Brazilwood is a very priced wood nowadays. So it is still, as we say in Portuguese, madeira de lei. And other examples of this type of wood, which is very priced today, would be jacarandá, would be ipê. All right, and in fact, just so you can have an idea, recently our current president has put I'm gonna say put watermark, shall we say? I don't know how it works, you know, but it's a way of identifying each and every tree, so that when the tree is chopped, you can trace it to where it is going. If it is going to the illegal market, if it is being bought legally, and all of that stuff. In fact, it's another very common misconception worldwide to say that Brazil is being careless with the forests and rainforests. No longer. We have a very strict environmental code, perhaps one of the strictest in the world. All right. So, this is historically all about Brazilwood, and you may be asking, oh, Amanda, so if I go to Rio, okay, where can I find a tree like this so that I can take a selfie with it, you know, and say, oh, look, here is the Brazilwood, red ink and all. So, or maybe you won't find it chopped like this so that the red ink appears, perhaps. So, two places where you can find it: the botanical gardens here in Rio, and another place, though there I have never seen the tree open like this, so you can see the red ink. But you can find it at the 15th of November Square, which I have already showed you in previous videos. Which I have already showed you in the in previous videos, right beside the fountain of built by Valentim da Fonseca. Oh, and by the way, almost forgot. For those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. And if you would like to know more about what this channel is about, also look at the previous videos. Please subscribe to this channel if you like the content, by the way, and share it with as many people as you possibly can. But if you would like to know more about this channel, also please watch the introductory video, so that you, and there I explain more in depth what this channel is about, what I'm doing here, and all of that lovely stuff. And once again, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe and share it with as many people as you possibly can. All right. So moving on to our next economic cycle, I should say, of Brazil. The next export after Brazilwood was sugarcane. Yes, none other than this over here. So this, folks, is sugarcane. So the reason why they made the switch from Brazilwood to sugarcane is simply because, well, Brazilwood was really very hard to transport, at least a lot harder than sugarcane. So sugarcane became the next price commodity. Well, because you can certainly transport a lot more sugarcane or even sugar than you can transport big logs of wood. Oh, and by the way, I nearly forgot. I was talking about the term wood of the law and how it came about. Well, it was another way of Portugal of controlling the extraction of Brazilwood. It meant that Portugal had that every wood every sample of Brazilwood that was extracted had to have the sanction of Portugal. So it was a bit like what our current president is doing today. so as you can see, not much change there. So Speaking about sugar, so the decline of Brazilwood I already spoke about, which was because of the difficulties in transporting and all of that. Um, and the sugar cane is a whole nother system, as you probably have heard about the history of the West Indies. Sugar requires plantations, but the plant, which is big properties of land. But the plantations in Brazil, they were called Seis Marias, and the organization of the land in Seis Marias gave birth to a whole new distribution of land in Brazil, to put it mildly. So, and this also gave the rise to sugar mills, or in Portuguese we call them engenhos. And a lot of people, when they talk about sugar in Brazil, of course, the first thing they think about is the northeast of Brazil. And yes, there were plenty of sugarcane plantations and mills in the Northeast, but in Rio there were those as well. In fact, in the region of Rio, which nowadays is called the North Zone, all of the neighborhoods, if you look at the history of them, they originated by being plantations where there were mills. And stay tuned, because one day I'm planning on doing a series on this channel about each neighborhood in Rio. So stay tuned. All right. But as a matter of fact, in Rio, there were more than 160 mills and plantations. In fact, one of the most famous of them nowadays is none other than a tourist attractions, which is none other than a tourist attraction, singular, which is none other than Parque Lage. And that is a place which, of course, you've certainly heard about. So Parque Lage itself, which was at Gávea, which is right before the Botanical Gardens, that is originated as a plantation and a mill. And the reason why I mentioned Gávea, I'm sorry, is because among the neighborhoods that had sugarcane plantations were the neighborhoods, and I am looking at my cheat notes here, of course. The neighborhoods were Tijuca, Laranjeiras, Gávea, and Andaraí. So all of these neighborhoods, all of these regions of Rio had sugar plantation. This is why I mentioned Gávea. And you may be wondering, so Amanda, besides sugar, which was of course a very prized commodity in 1500s and 1600s Europe, what else can you derive from sugarcane? Well, besides sugar, alcohol, of course. And back then, of course, and oh, by the way, before I get to that, this is how a sugar plantation back in colonial times, this is what a sugar plantation used to look like. There was the house of the lord of the land over here, and here, yes, is the house where the slaves would reside. And yes, I am eventually gonna get into the subject of slavery in Rio on this channel as well. Couldn't very well skip as if it didn't happen, right? That would be terribly wrong of me to do so. And here was the place where the actual plantation was. And moenda is the word in Portuguese for mill. This is where the sugarcane was ground and it became molasses, sugar, alcohol, and all of that lovely stuff. So, and inside the mill, but at least back in colonial times, this is what it looked like. Okay, with people grinding the sugarcane, and picking it up and grinding it and all of that. So Also here, you can see the several uses for sugarcane. But these several uses, of course, are nowadays. Okay, for instance, fuel, that is currently what sugarcane is used for. Bioplastic, this is what currently sugarcane is used for. Bioenergy nowadays as well. In colonial times, it was restricted to this: food and drink. Okay, specifically sugar and alcoholic drinks. In fact, ever heard of cachaça? I'm sure you have. So this vegetable here is where cachaça comes from. So when you are here drinking your caipirinhas, all right, you will be drinking, if you choose to drink them with cachaça, because well, nowadays there are plenty of varieties of caipirinha. I like mine with vodka, much better than cachaça, but the traditional one is with cachaça, of course. So when you're drinking your caipirinhas, which is composed of cachaça, lime juice, and sugar, you will have two products of sugarcane extraction in one glass. Huh. What do you think of that? So, oh, by the way, in the region of the Tijuca forest alone, okay, which is also a very good place for you to visit. Nowadays, there are no longer plantations because the all of the farms and plantations there were later taken down by order of the Emperor Dom Pedro II, precisely in order to preserve the trees and all of that. And I will get to that later in this channel. But there, in that region alone, there were 6 sugarcane mills. But as I said, the most famous of them was the Engenho del Rei, which is the current Paquilage, which was built in 1576 by the governor Antônio de Salema. Okay, and it was located where the Paquilage now is. So this is the current site of the old sugarcane mill. And this is, as I said, right before the botanical gardens. So if we were having an actual tour today, these are the 2 places where I would be taking you: to Paquilage and then to the botanical gardens, so we can see the Brazilwood. And of course, the botanical gardens themselves have a lot more history to them than just colonial Rio. But of course, since we are going in historical order, I will be talking about them further in this channel as well. So you can see a lot more is yet to come. So be sure to stay tuned. Okay. And let me see if we have more things. Nope, this is the end of our presentation. So let me stop share right here. So folks, this is the end of our video of today, of at least making a buck in Rio part 1. And well, I have decided to do this video as well in 2 parts, because the second part talks about the cycle of none other than gold, and it is quite and gold itself is quite has quite a long history. Okay, so this is why I'm putting it in 2 parts. So stay tuned for part 2, and I'll see you then. Until then, have a wonderful new year, and let's hope that 2021 is far better than 2020 was. Okay, so bye.